I don't make art to make pretty things. I make it because it helps me understand my life.
Hi, my name is Nadia Shihab, and I am the director of Jaddoland.
Kind of like this, like this, like this.
Jaddoland is a personal documentary that centers on the life of my mother, Lahib, who is an artist from Iraq, but who has lived in West Texas for the last 35 years.
Nice.
It's really through her own creative process and our intertwined creative processes, her as a painter and me as a filmmaker, that it explores the meaning of home across generations.
It's not about place, it's about the internal world that one creates.
I had been going back to Texas almost every summer to visit my mom, and one summer when I went back, I found my old camera from college. I would just drive around town, and I started filming like the outskirts of town. And as time progressed, I began to spend less time out of the city and more time just within our home and within the garden filming there. And that particular summer, I noticed that my mom was working on a series of paintings, really large-scale paintings that were using the landscapes of Iraq and the landscapes of Texas interchangeably. Anyone that would have seen those paintings would not have known that the landscape was Iraq. Like, it looked like Texas. And so that got me to thinking about these invisible threads of longing that some of us have to places that are no longer our homes, but that are still a part of us. And it also got me to thinking about my relationship to her, what I had inherited from her in terms of that lens and that frame, and the ways in which our own creative processes were intertwined. That was really the seed of the film. I think it'll work. Here, can you come look at this?
Have we never come here before?
I don't remember coming.
One of my most favorite spots in the world. Look at this. All of a sudden, these images started coming out from my inside that were expressing emotion, that were expressing something that was beyond the visuals of what I was seeing in front of me.
This film really became a film to me when my grandfather arrived, because it was the summer that ISIS, the Islamic State, had gone into North Iraq and had actually occupied his hometown. He was very sad that summer. My grandpa visits my mom every 10 years. He says he is the eldest of our tribe, the Jeddo tribe, of which there are thousands of relatives in northern Iraq that I have never met. He is the lifeline back to a homeland that is not my home, but that is still a part of me. There was a moment when he and my mom were just sitting on our front porch in silence, and there was the space between them, and the camera was rolling. That long moment of silence, the more I would listen to it, the more I would see and hear other things. It really conveyed the sense of distance that can happen when family is scattered and separated. But at the same time, it also conveyed the comfort. There was something interesting about intimacy and distance in that particular scene. When they did begin speaking, they began speaking about the trees, which gave way to talking about memory and their own memories, that encapsulated a lot of what the film was about in terms of our relationships to place and the past. I hope the film will both validate and reaffirm the experiences of those who relate to my mom's journey in some way, whether because they are immigrants or mature women or feel themselves to be outsiders. I also hope that the film will bring a more nuanced understanding of what it means to be American and of who and what America is in this day and age.
The first time I remember seeing Baghdad, it was through night vision. I was 10 years old, and my mother huddled me and my brother on the futon in front of the TV. She called her parents, no answer. The next day at school, the teacher pinned a yellow ribbon on my dress in support of the troops.
The more we tell our stories and the harder we work to find the right language and form of expression, I think the more power we are able to reclaim. So growing up, there were almost no stories that I saw being made about women of color by women of color. I never really saw experiences on screen that felt like familiar to my own inner world. I think stories like this help move us from like token representation to like authentic representation.